Hey you guys, what's up? It's your girl Ashley Tamar Davis. It's so good to be home and with the vibe. We are going to really have fun today. I am taking over. Yes, I am. And I'm so excited to kind of do some throwbacks, some odes to some of my favorite songs and some of your favorite songs, and then introduce you to some new music. But we're going to start with, I feel like when I wrote this song with Prince, it's a whole long story. But the song started off with saying, wake up. So I figure, the first song out the gate is going to be Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed, featuring my late great friend, Prince. That was Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed, featuring myself, Ashley Tamar Davis. I know it's like a long name. Y'all know me as Tamar Davis. But yeah, that was Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed with Prince. And that song came about after some really interesting travels back and forth to Minneapolis from LA. But what was crazy was we had no idea we were going to even record an album, let alone his 3121 record. And I was reintroduced to Prince in 2005 after singing background for Tamia and working with the Fatima Robinson. Fatima Robinson is the choreographer of choreographers. I mean, she worked with Aaliyah. We just did the Nipsey Hussle tribute for the Grammys. I mean, she's just amazing in her own right. And long story short, I had started working with Prince when I was 11. I didn't actually meet him. I was flown to Paisley Park with my mom, and I actually started getting on his radar because my cousin was smitten by Morris Hayes, who is his keyboard player, or was his keyboard player all the way up until now. He was in the original New Power generation, and I started doing some demo work with Morris, and long story short, he passed on my demo to Prince. And from there, I flew to Minneapolis, and I did a song called On Your Own that I actually just got back, the demo of me at 12 singing that song with Prince, from someone from London. Like, how did they get that record? Like, I don't even have that record. What in the world? And so I did that song, and then he redid Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And if you know Prince, I think he was somewhere at Paisley, like looking at me record the song, but I didn't meet him. And so long story short, I remember there was some paperwork being exchanged. I did a photo shoot. This is at 11 now. And then I remember flying back to Houston, and I just thought like, oh, one day I'm going to work with Prince, and nothing ever came out of it. And then fast forward to 2005, I ended up getting invited to a video shoot by Fatima, and she didn't tell me why she wanted me at the video shoot. And if you still know Prince, you know he starts things past midnight. So it is about 3 a.m. is when we started this video shoot. And long story short, we did the video shoot, and I promise you, I was sitting on the couch. It was very smoky in the house, the original 3121 house. And I felt like this whiff of like air behind me, and I remember getting cold. Like, I really felt a chill. Like, you hear people saying like he floats on air. Like, it really was like he had this angelic presence. It was really interesting. And I remember turning around and looking over my right shoulder, and it was him. And I was like, oh my God, I am in Prince's house. And I didn't think anything of it. And so that was a Friday. All of us we did photos because as an extra, you take photos and they take your information. And so Saturday, we got a call that he was doing an after party for one of the award shows. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to come back. And he was inviting us as a gift to say thank you and go up to the house. And long story short, it was in like very high up in Mulholland Drive. If you know anything about the valley in California and in LA, it's a very high up drive. And if you are afraid of heights, you're not going to go. Well, my mom is afraid of heights. So as we're riding up, my mom is panicking. Literally, she's panicking. She's like, I can't do this. She's like, is there anyone else that can come up here with you? Like, history was being made, and my mom was like, I cannot go up this hill. And so long story short, I called one of my friends. He comes with me. We arrive like maybe midnight, walk into the house. He's to the right playing pool because he loved playing pool. And in front of me was a house band. And special shout out to Houston, Texas, because we have really birthed some amazing musicians. And on drums was Cora Dunham, one of my favorite drummers, and her husband, Josh Dunham, at the time, and Sheila E. was there, and Frank McComb was there. And so long story short, I went to the restroom, and I came back, and Sheila E. was on drums, and I was able to catch up with Cora and Josh. And so I was like, what are y'all doing here? They were like, oh, we got called for this gig. And I'm like, what? We're all from Houston, and we're in Prince's house? It was crazy. And so long story short, as the night goes on, it's around 2, 3 in the morning, we're leaving out, and my friend, he's a very spiritual, faith-based guy. And he kept saying, I don't want to leave the house without introducing myself and telling Prince, thank you. I was like, I'm not going up to him. You can go up to him. And so he goes up to him and he said, Prince, thank you for opening your home. It was really a pleasure. And I heard Prince say, what's your name? And he was like, my name's Byron. And he was like, well, thanks for coming. And so he leaves out and I was like, well, I guess I should say something, because Prince was at the door greeting people, saying bye as people left. And I was like, Prince, thank you so much for opening your home. He was like, no problem. And I literally just almost like it just rolled off my tongue. I was like, yeah, my name is Ashley. You recorded a song for me somewhere over the rainbow at 11 years old. And he looked at me and he was like, he looked really stunned. And I thought I'd said something wrong, like he didn't remember. And he said, how have you been? And I was like, oh, I've been good. And he's like, what have you been up to? And I was like, oh, I just graduated from USC and I've been working with Lee Ritenour. And if you know anything about music, Lee Ritenour is like the godfather of jazz. He's like one of the most respected guitar players, right? Mind you, I didn't know Lee Ritenour was that respected. I just thought he was just, I'm gonna be honest, another Caucasian guitar player. Because in the 80s, David Bowie and, all of them kind of looked the same. I didn't really know the difference. I'm gonna be honest. Eric Clapton and what's the guy on sax? They all look the same. I didn't know he was like the epitome of jazz. So Prince is like, oh, he's like, can I hear you sing? And history was made that night. That morning, we go into the studio. He plays a drum loop. The room is like smaller than this. He plays a drum loop. And then my friend Byron, he knew Byron played piano. So Byron gets on the keys and then he's like, go for it. And I just literally started coming up with melodies and I was just singing just words just coming out of thin air. And he's looking at me and he says, give me a minute. He leaves and he comes back and he brings in Manuela, which was his wife at the time. And Manuela Testoloni is now Eric Benet's wife. So that tells you how small of a world it is. And he brings her in there and he's just talking to me. And literally we leave the house at 5 a.m. Needless to say, he's encouraging me. He's talking about the business. He prophetically is telling where the business is going. And he's encouraging me at the same time. And at the end of it, he was like, well, whenever you want to come up to the house, just come on and we can work. And I was like, I can't come up to this house and just knock on this door and just like say, hey, I want to record, and history was made. That's when it all started. So that I could talk all more about how Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed came about, but it started from that one incident. And Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed became a Grammy-nominated duet. And we didn't win that year, but it was the best experience ever. So that was Beautiful, Loved, and Blessed, you guys. It's your girl, Ashley Tamar. I'm here with The Vibe, taking over Mad Hatter and everyone in the room. We got some more music coming up. And let's see what song we want to play next. You know what? Let's play Heartbeat. Heartbeat was the first song from my first album. Technically my second album because I did Milk and Honey with Prince. So that was like the first album. But my first independent record that I distributed, Heartbeat. And here we go. Hey, you guys, what's up? It's your girl, Ashley Tamar, and that was Heartbeat from my first album. I mean, it just brings back so many memories of where that song stemmed from and how it came about. And it just kind of brings it to, like, music has definitely changed today. When I wrote that song and was working with the musicians at the time, ironically, I was on tour with Tyler Perry's The Marriage Counselor. Yeah. And I started working with these musicians who were just wanting to write. And I remember we would just save our money from the shows and we would take advantage of the days and we would go in and spend our own money. We would split it 3 ways and we just started recording. We used some of the musicians on the tour and paid them a little something or paid for their lunch. And nowadays it just seems like collaborations have been lost for the sake of the art, which is really, 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 really sad because there's so much more power in numbers. And I just remember learning a lot of hard lessons with the first album, which is like registration and copyright. And of course, internet was not even around at the time. And though I got a degree in music business, I learned no one can teach you how to operate in the experiences once you're in them. And then technology came in and you're really like, what in the world is going on? And not to bring it up, but Prince kind of brought up all this stuff that's happening, even legally, like the jargon that they're putting in contracts now is just mind blowing. But to all my artists out there, to each his own. You all are going to make a decision for yourself. But I know when I talk to high schools and schools in general, I'm everywhere, so bear with me. But when I do talk to schools, and I started a Siren Arts Academy for this very issue, I just have a problem with a lot of other artists not extending their hand to other artists and really being there for artists as they come up. But then on the other hand, a lot of new artists don't want to hear anything. It's like, what's the purpose of Prince going through what he went through and writing Slave on his face case for no one to ever have paid attention. Like at some point, we should be having these dialogues, and we're not. My hat goes off to the Megan Thee Stallions and my Taylor Swifts. Those are two different artists, and one's black, one's white. But at the end of the day, we're still artists, and how we're being treated is just crazy. I actually started writing a book. Well, it's out now, 100 Things to Know as an Independent Artist, because I felt like we weren't talking about taxes. We weren't talking about proper registration. Even to get our music into sync, like to TV and film, is a whole nother ballgame. And no one's talking about it. No one's talking about, for instance, when you're getting your music and say an Insecure, Raphael Sadiq is the music supervisor. I'm kind of giving you guys a hint on something that I am now working with. But Raphael Sadiq is, I'm sure he's dealing with the same issue, which is why I wrote my book, which is artists don't even have the basics taken care of. I started doing vlogs because of this very reason. I just have a problem that we don't even have our basics taken care of, so that if someone were to put your song in Insecure, who are the writers? Do you guys have song splits? How much are you guys getting? Is there 8 people on a song? Is someone going to pop their head up and say, hey, I helped write this song? Do you guys have this written down? Have you registered it with copyright.org or government? Or have you even heard of Kasin.com to be able to go and register your song? And so I'm saying all that to say, you guys know the basics. I talk a lot to these artists and musicians and producers, and I'm like, have you even followed the performance rights organization that you're a part of on Instagram? Do you know how many grants that they're giving out right now during COVID? Do you know how many seminars they're doing for free during this time? Oh, I didn't think about that. Well, you can't call me to help you get in the door if you don't even know that there's things out there for you. Like just a simple basic following your PRO. Or some artists don't even know what a PRO is. That blows my mind. Reading trades. And like, I wasn't doing this. I'm not telling you to do something that I wasn't doing. I had to learn over time. Like, I can ask all the questions, and I have been blessed to work with Prince and Tyler, where I can literally look them in the eye and ask them a question. They will give me the answers. But when it came to technical things like taxes, 1099, W-2, health insurance, 401k, through my LLC, at least having one employee. My 11-year-old nephew is my one employee. I make him do small stuff and pay him, but it's still a huge asset to me, So I just remember just thinking about how far I've come, and it didn't take just me, I want to be famous. I really started asking myself, do I want to have a career or do I want to be famous? And that's, to me, it's a common thread, but one to me actually has more weight. And I feel like having a career in the business is where it's at, because you really need to know your business, and you really need to not be afraid to ask questions. You can't be afraid to ask questions. And then the final thing I would say that I learned from recording Heartbeat was making sure I was surrounded by female mentors. So a special shout out to Sharon Hayward. A special shout out to Gail Mitchell at Billboard. A special shout out to Karen Lee over at Warner Brothers. Because without those women being hard on me, even from the way I stepped out of the house, you know what I mean? Like it just goes a long way when women necessarily have at least one woman they can vouch for in their recording sessions, and to really bounce things off of, because the reality is it is a male-dominated business. And once again, it hasn't been easy, but I also haven't had to go through some of the craziest of hardships because of it. So, that was Heartbeat. Came a long way from recording that record, boy. My name is Tamar. But yeah, it's your girl, Ashley Tamar. I'm in here taking over the vibe. Houston, Texas only. Houston, Texas, baby. All right, I'll be back with another song and another story for you guys, so stay tuned. All right, you guys, it's your girl, Ashley Tamar, live. I'm taking over at The Vibe, Houston, Texas. I gave a shout out earlier about Houston, but Houston really is the bomb.com. I mean, the artists coming out of here are just amazing, but Houston as a city, I tell a lot of people, back even when I was in college, I was raving about Houston because Californians weren't used to a lot of Texans being on the yard, and they always felt like me and this other guy named Joe were there from Houston. He was from Yates. I was from PVA. Special shout out to High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. Am I excited that they changed the name to Kinder? No, I'm not. But I remember being on campus and they were like, y'all Houston folks sure are cool. And out of nowhere, like at least 10 of my friends now live in Houston. So I am just like always repping Houston. I have finally got a Rockets shirt. I ain't gonna lie, finally got a Rockets. Cause you know, Harden, you did come in here and change the game. And then I actually did the Houston Sports Awards and I was rendering a song to our coach who got us the back-to-back. How did I forget his name already? Rudy Tomjanovich. Oh my God, he was so cool. Houston, I mean, from the food, Frenchies, Pappadeaux. I'm not a donut person, but Shipley's, gotta always give a shout out to Shipley's. But you know, my favorite thing now when I come home is Perry's Steakhouse. People don't know their happy hour is off the chain, and they have a happy hour on Sunday. Y'all don't laugh, okay? I take my nephew. He's 11 years old. I've been taking him since he was 3. And my whole family used to call me and go off. They were like, you know, he doesn't want anything but Perry's. And we're trying to take him to Chili's. And I was like, well, you know, gotta, you know, hip him to the finest of the best, you know. But special shout out to Perry's Steakhouse. What else is something? I was born and raised in Glen Iris over by Madison High School. And then we moved over here to the Tray, right around the corner from the NAACP building, by the way. We lived in a garage apartment. My mom had just gotten laid off, and it was some really interesting times of bonding with my parents and my family. I'm the oldest of 2 boys, and they are just like my heart, Nolan and Sean. And now we have 3 additions, Harper, Maddie, and Shane. And it is always good to come back home and spend time with my family. Now we up in Katy, and I'm just like overwhelmed at how Katy has grown and blown up. But, you know, back to the Houston artists. There's some artists here, y'all, that I swear, if I just had like at least an extra 50 G's, I would like really like give him 25,000 and just like really help his career. He's doing a great job. But my boy, Tony Henry, I mean, from the first time I heard him sing and play the guitar, he just reminded you of this male version of this smoother Lenny Kravitz, but a Tracy Chapman, but as this, it's just his voice, the raspiness and all this stuff. And so when I was writing my second project, I Am the Storm, I had this acoustic song called Sweet Music that I just wanted to like vibe with a guitar player who could sing. And I was like, who better than daggone Tony Henry? So y'all, please enjoy this song, Sweet Music, featuring my boy Tony Henry from my second album, I Am the Storm. It's your girl Ashley Tamar, and I'm here with the takeover at The Vibe. That was Sweet Music featuring Tony Henry on guitar and on vocals. I hope you guys liked it. And if you don't have it, you know, a lot of people don't know the new age with artists, even if you're not personally buying records. You know, I went to Australia last year. I did a residency, and I completely only had like 100 albums. I did Japan first and then Australia the second week. And I only had 100 CDs. Well, in Japan, the first night at Billboard Tokyo, they bought all the albums. And it was a huge eye-opener because you always hear how other countries are so receptive to music, live music, tangible music, merchandise, hats, T-shirts, whatever you have, they completely buy it out. And so I still have it in my phone. Like, they would come up and we would sign autographs. I was with New Power Generation. So it was Odell from Mint Condition, Mono Neon, Morris Hayes. I mean, it was the who's who of a lineup of guys in the band. And people would come by in Japan and they would have us sign stuff. And they had stuff like from when I was in Girls Time, or they had a photo and I'm looking like, where did you, and they have it framed, and you're like, oh my God, you guys really exude music out of your pores, right? And so I'm saying all that to say, like, when I started with Sweet Music and writing that album and stuff, I started printing up the actual album and started putting it on sale, like online, and people were really buying it, like more so out of the country than the US, and it just blew my mind. But long story short, I started working with more musicians from Houston, and Jermaine Williams from New Orleans is just a cat to really watch out for. And we started working on my second album and created a song called New Day. And we just wrote it like right on the spot. And I cannot not do this takeover and not play New Day featuring Mr. Jermaine Williams. So before I come back with a few more stories, I got to play New Day from I Am the Storm with me and Jermaine Williams. Hey, you guys, it's your girl, Ashley Tamar, doing a takeover with The Vibe. I am so excited to take over. Look, I could be here all day. I could probably be here all night, and I could probably be here the rest of the week. But, you can continue to listen to me on my Tamar Talks podcast. I started it in 2017, just wanting to talk more. I was tired of, seeing these webinars where people were talking about themselves for 2 hours, and then at the end, they're like, well, now go buy my book. And you're like, but did you teach me anything? No, you didn't. So I started the Tamar Talks, and I started interviewing people that were some true unsung heroes, from composers to executive producers, people that really make the shows and the albums and the productions, they bring it to life. And I just wanted to start interviewing actors and my boy Mark Swinton, who's the right-hand guy to Tyler Perry Studios. By the way, special shout out to Tyler Perry because I am in his new show called Bruh. I play the chief at the hospital, Chief Linda. I auditioned for it in LA. And it was just so kind of cool because I was like, dang, I really want to see Mr. Perry again, of course, because the last time I seen him was he helped me get on The Voice. And he surprised me as one of my guests. He literally got off a plane, came through the back door. He was just chilling. And then after I got off stage and found out I was moving on to the next round, there he was, tall Mr. Perry, behind my mom and my brother and my aunt and my uncle. But I am playing Chief Linda on Bruh. So hopefully, season 2, I have more episodes, because I am in 3 episodes as of now, but it does leave a cliffhanger. But Mr. Perry he is great for changing up them scripts on you any day. But it was definitely a blessing to see him. Actually, my baby brother, I don't know if I should say this, is working at Tyler Perry Studios in the prop department. So it was really a surreal moment to see my brother on set with me, putting my badge on me. And it was almost an emotional thing, because he is really a baby brother that we thought, we just didn't know what he was going to be when he grew up. So we just so happy that he's in sound mind and he's making his own money. Hallelujah. And, but yeah, it was great to work on Tyler Perry's The Bruh. And so that was fun. I am excited because I am working on some newer projects. I have a new song that came out with Jelly Bean Johnson. Now, if you don't know who Jelly Bean Johnson is, let me just give you some history. Have you guys heard of, I'm going to sing it and see if you guys know the song. It goes, all the lonely nights I stand alone, never worry about me, you're always gone. Anyways, that's Janet Jackson's Black Cat. One of my favorite songs by Janet that was so huge, but it was still untalked about, unperformed. Even on the reality shows, I don't think I've ever seen a contestant perform that song. It's just the best rock. I'm a rock girl for days, as you guys know, Redhead Stepchild that I did with Prince on Good Morning America. See, I told you I could stay here all day. I need to put a pin in a lot of these stories because I'll forget what I'm saying. But that song was written and co-produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Jelly Bean Johnson. And so I did a show last year in Canada with Jelly Bean. I didn't know who he was. I just knew the look was very dope, And it was Paul Peterson. And so we did this show in Canada, and we were supposed to do Black Cat, but the show got so lengthy we had to cut it out. But we got footage of the sound check of Jelly Bean doing his solo for Black Cat. It was the most enigmatic, majestical experience I'd ever experienced from outside of Prince, his guitar playing, and come to find out, his first instrument is drums. I had no idea. Everyone was like, oh, did he play drums in Canada? I was like, no, he played guitar, duh. They're like, when did he start playing guitar? I was like, I don't know. I thought that's what he played. You guys, it went so viral. It was just a rehearsal of us just doing it. And thank God we did it for soundcheck, because we didn't get a chance to do it for the show. And so long story short, from there, he and I started talking about the business, and come to find out, I had a perfect song for him called Imagination, and he is playing the guitar solo on my new single called Imagination. And so we're about to go into my next song with the Tamar takeover for The Vibe called Imagination, featuring Jelly Bean Johnson on guitar. Hey, you guys, it's your girl, Ashley Tamar. I'm taking over for The Vibe. It has been so much fun chatting with you guys. Next time, we got to do it even longer. But before I go, once again, special shout out to Houston, Texas. Special shout out to my mom and dad. It's crazy. I was thinking about the kids today going back to school. And my heart goes out to every student who is having to deal with virtual classing. You guys, I know it's hard. I know you wish you were with your friends. I can't even imagine what you guys are going through. I have a nephew and nieces, like I told you, and my heart really does go out to you guys. But know that you guys have people that are advocating for you. If it's too much, if it's too difficult, if it doesn't make sense, don't forget to ask questions. And I really hope that the school districts are really hands-on with you guys during this process, because it's new for everybody, not just for the students and the teachers, but for the districts and the communities. And, so my heart goes out to all of you guys in school, in college, getting that education. A special shout out to my mama and my daddy, Dr. Carolyn Davis and Nolan Davis. To all the, especially shout out to Mad Hatter and, KTSU. You guys always, people don't know, like, I ride in a car with no music. But when I come home, I do throw on my 90.9. The jazz, I'm a jazz fanatic, like McCoy Tyner. I'm just like always into jazz. So special shout out to you guys. Thank you for allowing me to take over and tell my stories and share some music and talk about things that's on my heart. Because like I told you, I can talk for days. But I did launch Siren Arts Academy, the book 100 Things to Know. You can get it on the website or Amazon or whatever. It's really easy. I thought about the toilet, I know this is TMI, but when you sit on the toilet and they had those books, that's why I wrote the book. I wrote it that simple. I was like, okay, y'all don't want to read. They said if you want to put some knowledge in somewhere, put it in the book. Well, I said, you know what? Let's get people back to reading. And it's literally 100 things. It just counts down. Like one of the numbers, I think number 98 says perpetuity means forever. Like, it's just that simple. It's very simple. It's easy. It talks about the IPI number. It talks about copyright. It talks about things I learned in Broadway, like when you come into a new show, what you should do. Don't talk back to a director is number 79. Like, it's that simple. It's like really, 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 really simple. And then in the end, I put in some websites that I think would help a lot of people, that a lot of people are like, how did you find this website? And how did you get your artwork, or who did your lyric video? And I'm like, well, if you get my book, you'll know who did my lyric video. Well, how much did you spend? It looked like you spent like $1,500. Nope. If you got my book, you'll see what link to go to, and you'll see you really are spending like maybe $65 for what you see on my website. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So I put it in a book, and I actually don't even allow people. And another thing about being an artist, me and Matt Hatter were talking about it. The transition for him from analog to digital. Mine was from the lack of upward mobility for artists and what that looks like, and how I really had a revelation. As an artist, a lot of people want to keep us as artists, but some of us really don't want to just remain artists. We're businessmen and businesswomen. And so from the book, I just started saying, how can I monetize? You started hearing the word monetize. You're like, what the heck does that mean? And you knew what it meant for techies or engineers, but when it came to artists, no one really defined what monetization was. On social media, you knew to take out an ad and all that stuff. But for me, I didn't know what that meant for me. But then I started seeing people email me or inbox me, hey, I have a question. Or can you give a shout out to my friend? She wants you to sing this song for her birthday. Or, I have a question about copyright or da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, this is how I monetize it. So if you want to inbox me now, my first question is, have you gotten the book? And if you got the book, then I would either do a Skype session with you for 15 minutes for free. Or if you haven't gotten the book, then I would bundle it with the Skype session or whatever, and then you get the book. So that's how I started learning how to monetize my knowledge. You know what I mean? It's like my parents paid a lot of money for me to go to USC, and that's Southern California. That ain't Southern Carolina, okay? Two different schools, okay? And I, 100 Things to Know as an independent music artist. And then in September, I will launch the workbook. It is a 27-page workbook. It has definitions. It has templates in there. I'm not going to tell you what they are. You can use the templates for anything that you're doing. So instead of you trying to figure out what to do and what you should have on a resume or a song splits and the information you need to have, it's all in there. It's 27 pages, has hyperlinks. It has 30 questions, like as if you're in school. And has definitions. I think I said definitions and clauses. Yeah. So that's coming out pretty soon. And then that's really it. On the horizon, there's some other things I'm working on, but you can always find out what's going on tamardavis.com. I am doing a lot of Zooms, and that's been a lot of, you didn't realize how much having worn heels since the COVID until you have to do Zooms and, all that stuff. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I've been collaborating. I have a song coming out soon with Paul Wall and Mono Neon on bass, hopefully with Nick West on bass. It'll be great to do some more collaborations from, Houston artists like Robert Glasper and Jason Moran. And, so you never know what that looks like. And that's really what's going on in my world. And it's been a blast. It's been a blast, honestly, to rest, because I just finished doing another Broadway show that ended up going into movie theaters. And that was a whirlwind, because when you do Broadway shows, it takes up all your time. You only have one day off. So I've taken advantage of resting, and it has been the best thing in the world. And yeah, it is difficult as an artist because the live sector is closed. I'm not about to sit up here and pretend that it's not, but I've had so much more fun working on other things that I've wanted to do, which is the Siren Arts Academy, making sure my business is lined up. I found out it was forfeited by the state of Texas, so I had to go back in and pay $150 and get it reinstated. It's stuff like that. So I would tell everyone to take advantage of this time. Out of these kind of times are birth a lot of ideas and creativity. So yeah, it's been great. And before we go, I guess the best song to say bye is Let's Get Away. I had this idea. Southwest's logo is called, Fly Get Away. So I wrote this song called Let's Get Away, thinking like, oh, Southwest would pick it up. But once again, it's like a whole bunch of red tape as to how to get that and who's over that department and all that stuff. So I wrote this song called Let's Get Away on my second project, I Am the Storm. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Your girl, Ashley Tamar. I've had so much fun being here. I look forward to coming back on The Vibe and taking over. And if you guys have any questions, make sure that they get them, and I would definitely love to answer them the next time. And I don't care what you ask. I don't care if it's about Tyler and, Prince. I don't care. I love answering those questions. But I can't give you too much because I do have a book coming out. So another, like a memoir. So it's not a tell-all. It is about restoration, redemption, and forgiveness. And it's just, I can't even really read the book sometimes because it makes me cry, because my parents they become very transparent about why they did certain things in my life as a child for me, for the bigger picture. But it's really to help other artists and relationships with families be mended again, and for people to start talking again and to find out what hurts them and why it hurt them, or why they felt like it hurt them, or why they felt like someone did something and they don't know why. So it's really that kind of a book, although it does talk about Girls' Time, to Prince, to The Voice, to Broadway and stuff like that. But it is coming out, and it is called The Siren on Damascus. So it's a play on words, Paul's journey on Damascus. And so yeah, that's on the horizon and all that stuff. So yeah, it's me in my rawest and purest form, Ashley Tamar, with the takeover of The Vibe. I will talk to you guys soon.